Once upon a time, in a small village nestled at the foot of a great mountain range, lived two siblings, Alina, a curious and bright-eyed girl of 7, and her brother, David, a brave and clever boy of 10. They lived with their parents in a cozy little home, and their favorite game was to chase butterflies along the mountain trails near their village. One warm afternoon, while their mother was busy baking bread, Alina tugged at David's sleeve. "Let's go just a little further up the trail today," she whispered with sparkling eyes. David hesitated, but could never say no to his little sister's smile. "Only a little further," he agreed, "and we turn back before sunset." They climbed higher and higher, laughing and jumping over little stones, chasing a particularly beautiful blue butterfly. But the butterfly led them deeper into the mountain forest than they had ever gone before. By the time they stopped running, the trees around them were tall and unfamiliar. The path behind them had disappeared, and the sky above was turning a deep shade of orange. "David," Alina said quietly, gripping his hand, "I don't know where we are." David looked around. The forest was thick and silent. The trail was gone. He swallowed his fear and squeezed her hand tightly. "Don't worry," he said, keeping his voice steady. "We will find our way." But the sun kept sinking, the air grew cold, and their legs grew tired. They walked and walked until darkness crept through the trees like a shadow. Alina began to shiver, and David wrapped his arm around her small shoulders. Then, through the darkness, something extraordinary appeared. A soft, glowing light flickered between the trees. Then came a smell, so sweet, so rich, so impossibly delicious that both children forgot their fear entirely and ran toward it. What they found left them completely speechless. There, in a small clearing, stood the most magical house they had ever seen. The walls were built entirely of thick slabs of dark and milk chocolate, smooth and gleaming in the moonlight. The roof was piled high with enormous clouds of cotton candy, pink, purple, yellow, and blue, so fluffy and soft they looked like the clouds of a rainbow sky. The window frames were made of twisted candy canes, red and white, and the door was a giant slab of white chocolate decorated with colorful gummy stars. The garden path leading to the door was lined with lollipops of every color, and the fence was woven from long strips of strawberry licorice. Caramel flowers bloomed in the garden, and tiny chocolate pebbles lined the flower beds. But most astonishing of all were the streams running around the house. Where there should have been water, there were rivers of the most vibrant juices. One stream ran deep red with rich pomegranate juice. Another flowed bright orange like freshly squeezed oranges. A third shimmered golden yellow with the sweet scent of mango. And the fourth, the widest of all, flowed pale pink and cool, smelling of fresh watermelon. Alina gasped and clapped her hands. "David, David, look!" she cried, her tiredness completely forgotten. Even David's eyes went wide. He had never seen anything like it in his entire life. They ran to the mango juice stream first and cupped their hands and drank. It was the most delicious thing they had ever tasted, cold, sweet, and perfectly ripe. Then they tore off a piece of the chocolate wall and ate it, then a handful of pink cotton candy from the roof, then an orange candy cane from the window frame. They laughed and ate and drank, completely forgetting all caution, until, creak, The white chocolate door swung open. In the doorway stood an old woman. She was tiny and hunched, wrapped in a long black shawl, with sharp green eyes that glittered like broken glass. Her face was deeply wrinkled, like old paper crumpled and smoothed out again 1,000 times. But her smile was warm and wide, showing perfectly white teeth. Oh my," she said in a voice as sweet as honey. "Two little lost children, all alone in the cold mountain night. Come in, my little dears. Old Nana will take care of you." Alina immediately stepped forward, but David caught her hand. Something about the woman's green eyes, the way they flickered and gleamed, made the back of his neck prickle. But they were cold, tired, and alone in the mountain night, and the house smelled wonderful. They went inside. The interior was just as magical. The floors were smooth toffee, the chairs were made of caramel, and the table was set with steaming cups of warm pomegranate juice. The old woman fed them warm chocolate biscuits and sang softly to them, and soon Alina's eyes grew heavy and she fell into a deep, deep sleep on a little cotton candy cushioned bed. David tried to stay awake, but the warm juice was too sweet and his eyes too heavy, and soon he too drifted off to sleep. David woke in the middle of the night for a strange sound, a low humming like a dark lullaby. He lay perfectly still and opened his eyes just a crack. The old woman was sitting beside Alina's bed, holding a small glowing glass bottle. The bottle pulsed with a soft golden light, and as David watched in frozen horror, he saw a thin thread of golden light, barely visible, drift from Alina's sleeping face toward the bottle, as though the old woman were slowly drawing something out of her. Her soul. David's heart hammered in his chest. He remembered the old stories his grandmother used to tell of mountain witches who stayed young and alive by stealing the souls of little girls, drinking their light and life like a potion, one drop at a time. He forced himself to breathe slowly. He could not scream. He could not run. Not yet, not without Alina. He watched through nearly closed eyes as the witch stoppered the bottle, pressed it to her lips, and took a small sip. Before his eyes, the deep wrinkles on her face softened ever so slightly. She let out a long, satisfied sigh, rose stiffly, and disappeared through the dark door at the back of the house, humming to herself. The moment she was gone, David sat up. His mind was racing. He looked around the room quickly, carefully. On the wall beside the back door hung a large iron key on a hook, old and heavy, the kind that opens a gate or a lock leading outside. Below the back door, through a crack, he could smell it, the deep, sweet, heavy scent of mango juice. He had seen it when they arrived, a large stone well at the back of the house from which the mango juice stream flowed. It was wide and deep. A plan began to form in his 10-year-old mind, a dangerous plan, but the only plan he had. The next morning, the witch put David to work immediately, sweeping the toffee floors, steering the juice streams, polishing the chocolate walls. She kept Alina close to her at all times, watching her with those sharp green eyes, occasionally patting her cheek with cold fingers. David worked quietly and obediently, saying nothing, showing nothing on his face, but all day he watched. He memorized every detail: where the witch walked, when she turned her back, how long she spent at the well each evening, and most importantly, where she kept that iron key. She kept it around her neck during the day on a thin black cord, but at night she hung it on the hook by the back door. He had one chance. On the second night, David lay completely still and waited. He counted to 1,000 after the witch's humming faded behind her door. Then he counted to 1,000 again. Silence. He rose silently from his bed, his bare feet pressing softly on the toffee floor. Step by step, he crossed the room. He lifted Alina gently. She stirred and mumbled, but did not wake. He carried her to the back room and set her gently against the wall. Then he crept to the witch's door and pressed his ear against it. Heavy rattling snores rumbled from within. He crossed back to the well door. Through the crack, the warm mango scent drifted up. He peered outside. The stone well glowed faintly golden in the moonlight, the mango juice swirling deep within it. Now came the hardest part. He pushed the back door open, slowly, 1 millimeter at a time, until there was just enough space. Then he crept to the witch's door and knocked. 3 sharp knocks. The snoring stopped. Footsteps. David pressed himself flat against the wall beside the door. The witch shuffled out, hunched and squinting, muttering to herself, "Who is there? Who dares?" She stepped through the back door toward the well, peering into the darkness. David took a deep breath and pushed her with every ounce of strength in his 10-year-old body. Splash! The witch shrieked, a horrible echoing sound that shook the candy walls, and tumbled into the well of mango juice. The golden liquid swirled and closed over her, and her shrieking faded into a distant bubbling echo, and then silence. The glass bottle around her neck, the one containing Alina's soul, flew from her hand as she fell and shattered on the stone rim of the well. A warm golden light burst free and floated gently through the night air and drifted back toward the house, back toward Alina. David ran. He grabbed the iron key from the hook, burst back inside, and shook Alina awake. "Alina! Alina! Wake up! We have to run right now!" Alina's eyes fluttered open, and this time they were bright and clear, full of light again. "David," she whispered, "I had the strangest dream." "I will tell you everything later. Run!" He grabbed her hand, and they ran out of the candy house, through the lollipop garden, over the licorice fence, and into the dark mountain forest. David gripped the iron key tightly. He did not know why, but some instinct told him to keep it. They ran until the candy house was far behind them, until the sweet smell faded, until the trees began to thin, and until at last they saw lights. The lights came from a small cluster of buildings on a mountain ridge, and above one of the buildings, barely visible in the early morning light, was a blue sign with white letters: Police Station, Murray Hills Division. They half ran, half stumbled to the door and pounded on it with both fists. The door swung open. A tall police officer in uniform stared down at 2 exhausted, wild-haired children on his doorstep.
"Please," David said, breathing hard. "We are lost. We need help." The officer's eyes went wide. He called to his colleagues, and within moments, both children were wrapped in warm blankets, given hot tea, and seated safely inside the warm station. A kind lady officer sat with Alina and held her hand. Someone called their parents. David sat quietly for a moment, the iron key still in his hand. He turned it over and looked at it. He would never know exactly what lock it opened or what it was truly for, but he set it on the officer's desk and said nothing. Some things from the dark mountains were better left behind. 2 hours later, their mother burst through the station door with tears streaming down her face, and their father was just behind her. Alina flew into her mother's arms. David stood for a moment and then walked into his father's arms and finally let himself breathe. Outside, the mountain was quiet. The forest was still, and somewhere deep within it, a candy house slowly melted in the morning rain, its rivers of juice washing away into the earth, and its magic dissolving like sugar in water, gone forever.